Diepe Waters spoilers for August 2026, the month of reckoning. The Svart family found themselves caught in a web of their own making, where old wounds festered and new betrayals bloomed like poison flowers in the Pluttelant sun. August arrived not with a whisper of relief, but with the thunderous crack of war drums, and at the center of it all stood Zelda, clutching secrets like a drowning woman clings to driftwood. Sanet drew a line in the sand, her declaration of war against Juvan sending shockwaves through Boskrane. The battle lines were drawn, friendships shattered, and alliances tested in ways no one could have predicted. Meanwhile, Karla limped home from the championships, her spirit crushed and her confidence in tatters. The weight of expectation, of failure, of everyone watching her every move had finally broken through her carefully constructed armor, and Zelda, for just a moment, allowed herself to breathe, a brief respite before the storm descended with terrifying force. Corrie's eyes narrowed with suspicion, watching Zelda's every move like a hawk circling its prey. The old woman had spent decades reading people, and Zelda's frantic energy, her desperate need to control everything, spoke volumes louder than any confession ever could. Across town, Jacques and Theresa reached a breaking point. Their wedding, supposed to be a celebration of love, had become a battlefield of egos and family loyalties. The decision they made would haunt them both, but they pressed forward, the weight of expectation crushing their joy before it could even fully bloom. Karla's first day back at the club was a masterclass in humiliation. The whispers followed her like a shadow, the pitying glances cutting deeper than any insult. She had returned a failure in everyone's eyes, and the shame burned hot in her chest as she forced herself to face the pool, the water that had once been her sanctuary now mocking her with its cold indifference. Zelda wrestled with a question that had no easy answer. Should she tell Frans the truth that would shatter what little peace he had left, that would expose the depths of her deception, that might finally push him over the edge into a darkness from which there was no return? Her fingers trembled as she weighed the cost, the scales tilting dangerously one way and then the other. Karla, however, refused to be broken. She had tasted humiliation, and she would not let it define her. She set her sights on the next medal, on the next victory, on proving to everyone, including herself, that she was still a champion. But Jacques couldn't shake the feeling that something was fundamentally wrong with the wedding plans. The details felt wrong, the energy off, and he began to suspect that Theresa was keeping something from him, something that would change everything between them. Nella and Abel's funeral was a somber affair. Two souls laid to rest amidst a family torn apart by grief and suspicion. Corrie and Zelda stood on opposite sides of the grave, their hatred for each other a living, breathing thing that refused to be buried alongside the dead. The mourning mask slipped, revealing the raw animosity beneath. Jacques kept a devastating secret from Theresa, one that would have undone their wedding before it could even begin. He carried it like a stone in his chest, each beat of his heart a reminder of the lie he was living. And Balbo, ever the manipulator, pitted Karla against Nina. Two friends forced into competition, their bond stretched to breaking point by outside forces that cared nothing for their history, only for the spectacle of their rivalry. Theresa received a gift that left her breathless with shock. The package arrived without warning, without explanation, and what lay inside was something from her past she had tried desperately to forget. It was a message, clear and unambiguous. Someone knew where she was, and they were coming for her. Karla and Nina's friendship teetered on a knife's edge, the Balbo scandal driving a wedge between them that neither knew how to bridge. And Zelda believed Frans was finally safe, that the nightmare was over. But she was wrong. Someone was watching, waiting, biding their time. The shadows in the corner of Frans's hospital room seemed to move of their own accord, and Zelda felt the cold fingers of dread creep up her spine. Clutu had a plan. He always had a plan, one that wound itself through the lives of others like a serpent through grass. Spending time with Frans was just the first step in a much larger scheme, one that would have devastating consequences for everyone Clutu touched. Karla made a decision born of desperation, a rash move that sent shockwaves through her family. Pam was furious, her disappointment palpable, her anger a sharp edge that cut Karla deeper than any criticism from a rival ever could. The Svart household was a pressure cooker, and the steam was about to explode. Jacques couldn't shake the feeling that a curse hung over his impending marriage. Every detail that went wrong, every argument that erupted, every shadow that fell across his path felt like a warning. Karla's heart ached with the knowledge that her relationship with Nina might never recover. the friendship she had cherished splintering under the weight of competition and jealousy, and Zelda watched Frans struggle, each small setback a personal failure, each moment of confusion a reminder of how far he had fallen from the man he used to be. Frans was miserable, his body refusing to cooperate with his will, his mind clouded with a fog that wouldn't lift. He hated the pity in everyone's eyes, hated the way they spoke to him like he was a child, hated the slow, agonizing progress that felt more like regression. Karla found herself caught between Arno and Nina, two people she loved, two relationships that demanded loyalty she couldn't give both. And Katinka, Jacques and Theresa gathered to discuss a problem that would not be solved with kind words or gentle compromises. Zelda learned of Frans's mysterious new friend and felt a flicker of curiosity and fear. Who was this person who had inserted themselves into his life? What did they want? Her instincts screamed that nothing good could come from a stranger's sudden interest in a broken man. Arno, meanwhile, found the courage to be brutally honest with Karla about his dreams for their future. He wanted children, he wanted a life, he wanted to build something that would outlast the chaos of the present. Rosso rallied the men of Boscrane, gathering them for a bachelor party that would either bring Jacques and Theresa closer together or tear them apart forever. Zelda's suspicion grew with each passing day, each new detail about Frans's mysterious visitor feeding a paranoia that felt more justified with every revelation. Karla's confidence wavered after another crushing loss, the weight of disappointment pressing down on her shoulders until she could barely stand, and Theresa and Jacques celebrated what they believed would be their final moments as an unmarried couple. A bittersweet farewell to the life they had known before the altar's embrace. Frans's condition worsened, and Zelda struggled to make sense of what was happening. The doctors offered no answers, no explanations that satisfied the growing dread in her heart. Karla and Arno clashed with terrifying intensity, their arguments growing louder, more vicious, each one chipping away at the foundation of their marriage. But then, a miracle, or at least, a reprieve. Someone unexpected appeared to save Jacques' day, a figure from his past who offered a lifeline when all seemed lost. Karla and Arno found themselves locked in a bitter argument about children, whether to have them, when to have them, what kind of life they could offer. The conversation was a landmine, each word a potential explosion. Clutu made a clever plan to spend more time with Frans, inserting himself deeper into the family's affairs. And finally, after all the turmoil and heartbreak, Jacques and Theresa's big day arrived, two souls, battered by circumstance, ready to make a promise to each other that would weather whatever storms came next. But the arguing continued. Karla and Arno couldn't stop, couldn't find a way to bridge the gap that had opened between them. Rosso was highly irritated, his patience worn thin by the constant drama that seemed to follow his family like a shadow. Zelda took charge of Frans's care, determined to protect him from whatever threats lurked in the shadows. She wasn't sure how, wasn't sure she could succeed, but she would try. Sanet's concern for Karla and Arno's marriage grew, watching the young couple spiral toward an inevitable breaking point. Zelda's nervousness increased as Frans's memories started to return, memories that could destroy everything she had built. And Katinka warned Fouché to stay away from Karla, sensing danger in his interest, knowing that Karla was too vulnerable to resist whatever temptations he might offer. Fouché made Karla an offer that caught her completely off guard, an offer of escape, of something new, of a future that looked nothing like the one she had planned with Arno. Rosso found his joy, a rare moment of happiness in a month defined by sorrow. But Zelda's meeting with Clutu ended in tragedy. The confrontation she had feared finally erupting, with devastating consequences. Zelda had to deliver the worst news imaginable to Siseko and Gase, news that would shatter their worlds. The speculation at Skinvestment ran rampant, gossip filling the silence that Pam's absence had created. Rosso finally took his dance with the Filioons, a measured step toward healing. And Arno confronted Karla, demanding the truth about the choices she was making, the future she was walking away from. The world reeled from the news of Pam, her fate, her loss, the hole she left in the fabric of Boscrane. Karla sought escape in the wrong place, in the wrong arms, making a decision that would change everything. And Siseko, crushed beyond words, couldn't see a way forward, until a loved one appeared, a guiding light in the darkness, offering the faintest glimmer of hope that he might one day find his feet again. The weight of August's revelations hung heavy in the air, but the true cost of this month of reckoning was only beginning to be counted. Who would survive the fallout? Who would be left standing when the dust finally settled? And in the depths of their grief and betrayal, could any of them find the strength to rebuild? Or had the damage been done beyond repair? Don't miss a single twist. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you never miss what happens next in Diepe Waters.